Okay, so the first part was you just putting the continents in the right spot. Now, the questions are a little bit harder. Now you have to use that map to answer these questions. And I'm going to go over these with you. Which two continents are entirely in the southern hemisphere? So which two continents are entirely in the southern hemisphere? So remember, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Entirely means their entire body, the entire continent, is underneath the equator. Okay? So some continents have the equator running right through them. Do you see? But there's two continents that don't touch the equator and they are below it. So which two continents are in the southern, see? Southern hemisphere? Which two continents are entirely, meaning their whole body, is in the southern hemisphere? Okay, and the second one. Which two continents are entirely in the northern hemisphere? Entirely. That means their entire continent is above the equator. So again, look at the equator. Some continents have the equator running through them, which means they are not entirely, because they're not in one side or the other. But look at the continents that are entirely above the equator. Not one part of them is below it, okay? So take a look. And it's going to be tricky with one of them. But look at the northern hemisphere here. Which two continents are entirely in the northern hemisphere? Then we have which two continents are entirely in the western hemisphere? Okay? Now, let's take a look. We have our east, remember? North, south, east, west. So here's our east over here, right? It even shows you eastern hemisphere. And here's our western hemisphere. Everything on this side of the prime meridian is the western hemisphere. So which two continents are entirely in the western hemisphere? Meaning no part of them is in another hemisphere. They're only in the west. What continents are only in the western hemisphere? And the next one says, which two continents are entirely in the eastern hemisphere? Now look over here. Eastern hemisphere. Which two continents are entirely on this side of the prime meridian? Okay? They have to be all the way to the side of the prime meridian. Which two continents? And how about this one? List the three continents crossed by the equator. Three continents crossed by the equator. So three continents that the equator cuts through. So you're going to look at your map, and you're going to tell me what three continents the equator, remember, that's the equator, it's the belt around the earth, which three continents the equator crosses over. Touches three of them. I know one of them probably looks a little tricky to you, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out. And then it says, list the three continents crossed by the prime meridian. Okay, look at the prime meridian. It's that line going straight down. What three continents are crossed by the prime meridian? It goes from the north to the south and it touches three continents. Which three continents are they? Okay, so take a look at that. Work on this sheet, please. Do your best. I know you can do it.